Hey everybody, John here, obviously. And I have a half-formed idea that I don't know if I'm right or not. It's a new idea for me, and I'm just going to throw it out there, and I'm probably going to be wrong, but it's worth chewing on, it's worth talking about. The violent riots that are happening in many cities in the United States, which are basically Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and are fundamentally Marxist feminist movements. Those are really creatures of the radical left, although I'm not sure there's actually a clear distinction to make anymore between the radical component of the left and the mainstream left, because the political candidates seem to be perfectly groovy with cities being on fire and are in some cases using that as a threat against their political opponents on the right. The thing I want to recognize here is that there is a very clear authoritarian component to all this violence and looting, and being on the left and the right are both mainstream positions. Like, those are both completely normal positions for Americans, for Canadians as well. And yet the political left now seems to be taking the view that if you are anything other than slavishly in agreement with the political left, then it's acceptable to use really severe and in some cases deadly violence against somebody simply for not agreeing with a political point of view. So that's like as authoritarian and totalitarian as it gets. Is this, and here's the wild hair I got last night. Is this authoritarian and totalitarian movement a response to the red pill? And I don't mean the red pill like the red pill subreddit or any particular men's movement component of the red pill. I just mean the most broad reading of that term that you can take, which is to say, looking at the mainstream political narrative and saying, this is a bunch of nonsense. We are being bullshitted, and we're going to peel back the layer and see what's underneath it and make our own choice. All of the mainstream news are selling a fraudulent political narrative, and in fact, in some cases, cooking up fictional news stories, fictionalizing true events, blatantly misrepresenting what's going on, and doing so in a rather shameless and overt way that can now be seen by anybody with eyes to see it. So people are red pilling themselves. I don't mean like, oh, I don't believe in feminism and we're the red pill, and which is like a men's pickup subreddit or something like that. No, I just mean the broader meaning of that term. But also, this I would include in this the phenomenon of men in our society, not the MGTOW movement precisely, but men responding to the hostility and the toxicity and the bullshit, and doing things like being unwilling to mentor female colleagues in an environment where false accusations have been popularized and have their own hashtag. So we have a large-scale breakdown of the fiction, the fantasy of the mainstream political narrative, causing people to step away from their traditional serve and provide and self-sacrifice roles. So is the totalitarian and authoritarian movement that seems to be manifesting, which is, you can hear people call this a communist revolution, is this an attempt to force people by physical force back into service now that the psychological control that they were under has largely broken? Is that part of what's happening? Is that that people are becoming alert to the fact that so much of the social institutions and the political narrative that we are all a part of is revealing itself to be a tissue of fabrication and falsehood, and people are stepping away. Therefore, the psychological control they were under is failing, and so in response, the the political mainstream is becoming more physically forceful to try to, well, we can't control you psychologically anymore, we'll control you physically. Is that maybe what's going on? At least in part. Anyway, I'm probably wrong, but I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments thread, so thanks very much for listening, and thanks also to my patrons who are helping to support this channel, as well as my subscribers, and as always, thanks for watching, and have a lovely, lovely day.